Hi, welcome back to the series where I've been sharing stories to help you build your story bank. Let's start today's story. The year is 1990. Jerry Sternin and his wife Monique and their little 10-year-old son Sam have just landed at Hanoi Airport. The Sternins have been sent by the Save the Children organization at the behest of the Vietnam government to help with a huge issue of child malnutrition. After the first night stay at the government guest house, the next morning the couple go to meet the Foreign Affairs Minister. The minister tells them, listen, we do have a huge problem, but not all my colleagues are very happy to have an American here. So you have just 6 months to not only find the issue, reverse the problem, and make it a sustainable solution. Now, Jerry knew that conventional wisdom would say that the problem with malnourishment was because of an intertwined issue of 3 things, which is poor sanitation, no clean drinking water, and poverty. Now, with just one couple and a few staff, there is no way he would be able to save these people from either poverty or change the entire sanitation system or even, bring in clean water. So what Jerry Sternin interestingly had said in an interview that these are TBUs or true but useless information. So they decided to hit the ground. So they went and visited these 4 villages, or in Vietnam called communes, where they decided to weigh every children below the age of 3. They weighed 2,000 of them, and they found that over 68% of them were actually malnourished and half of them under the huge risk of dying. When the list was prepared, he asked the people to see whether there was any child in that list who was not malnourished, who was healthy, but belonged to a very poor family. And the people looked at that list and said, yeah, there are. He said, is it true for all villages? And they said, yes. So Jerry and his wife decided to visit these families which were poor but had healthy children. Initially, of course, the families were shy about saying what they do differently, but finally they opened up. And what Jerry and his wife found out is they do 3 things differently. One is that while like others they were feeding the rice soup to their children because that's the only thing everyone there could afford, they were feeding it 4 times a day instead of twice, which is what all the other families did. The second, the mothers were going into the rice paddy fields and scrimping around for little shrimps and little crabs and foraging in the forest for sweet potato leaves. And they were putting that in the broth and boiling it. And third is that instead of allowing other people or the children to serve themselves, the mothers in these houses actually served the children themselves by ladling to the bottom of the pot so that they could get those shrimps and crabs. These were the 3 differences. So Jerry and his wife decided that this is replicable. It was what Jerry called bright spots. Initially, of course, the organizers there said, oh, let's take a loudspeaker and tell everyone. But Jerry knew this is not going to work. So he decided to hold workshops that would be run by the poor mothers with healthy children for the other mothers with unhealthy children. And they would cook once every week, every day once, and everyone together with their children would have a meal. Now, there was a catch here. The mothers that would come to attend would have to go to the rice paddies, scrounge around and forage for little shrimps and crabs, and go to the forests and get some sweet potato leaves and come with that. That was the entry for the workshop. And then they cooked together and then they ate 1 extra meal. Within 12 days, there was a perceptible change in all those children and they started becoming slowly and slowly healthy. Within 3 months, 40% of children were moved from the malnourished list to the nourished list. Then slowly they decided to expand this to other villages, and again Jerry said, no, don't replicate and go and tell them to do shrimps and potato leaves, etc. Find out what other healthy practices do poor families with healthy children have. In some villages it was peanuts or dried fish, and that's what was then replicated. Really what they were trying to do is to find pockets of brilliance or bright spots within the environment, within the organization, if you like, and bring it to everywhere else. This was extremely successful. It was rolled out across Vietnam and over 1 million children over the next few years benefited. Post that, across 40 countries have adopted this process of looking at intractable problems. What a lovely story. Where can you use this story? This story is a brilliant example of not having to invent the wheel. An example where success is not always about getting experts from outside. There are sometimes people within the organization, within the same environment, who have found the right solution. It is about spotting them and replicating them. Let me know if you can think of where other places that you can use the story. And thanks for watching, and Merry Christmas.